What brought me to CSUDH was the students and the mission. I was very excited to join a university that was committed to teaching, first and foremost, and teaching a very special urban population. My research agenda at CSUDH is centered on outsourcing research. That's the area in which I am working to become a national and international expert. And I find outsourcing fascinating because through my lifetime we've really seen globalization become a phenomenon every business needs to pay attention to. We have billions of people that have entered the labor market. You include China, India, the countries of the former Soviet Union, that my students today now compete with for their jobs. It wasn't the case in the 80s, and that's had some real impacts on folks looking for jobs, say in tax accounting, or even radiologists who might see work being outsourced to India. So that's the primary area of focus, and some of my research has discovered the importance of something such as the English language. Those countries for whom English is a official language are doing more business in the outsourcing of services. It's where India has an advantage relative to China, but being located in a port city, if you look at outsourcing of things like manufacturing where language isn't important, you definitely see lower cost countries as China being a leader. So that's the primary area, but I'm also doing research on management education. And I'm looking at the first 7 MBA classes from an executive MBA program in Guangzhou, China, and answering questions such as, what has this transfer of Western management knowledge via an MBA meant to these people in terms of their salary increases, their promotions, the companies that they're working with, and as well as getting their input on what type of information is kind of generic and where has the Western transfer gone well as what needs to be customized for the Chinese experience. And then a third area of interest to me is something that's really a great fit with Dominguez Hills. It's a scholarship of teaching, and I've begun taking advantage of the fact that we offer a good number of online courses to meet the needs of our working students, to uncover what does it take to design such a course in a manner that's going to make sure that the learning is as good or even better as my ground-based courses. So I'm working with a number of folks in the management department to kind of record, doing pre-post-test designs to see how is the learning being affected, and can we justify to ourselves that students are leaving our online programs knowing just as much as they do in our ground-based. The most important thing about business education at CSUDH, I believe, is translating the theories, the concepts that we cover in the textbooks, and helping students to understand how they apply to the everyday world, the business environment, their work life. The advantage of teaching many students who need to work, which is the case for about 80% of my students, is they can take these concepts and apply them immediately. So I really focus on looking for activities that give them some hands-on experience. For example, in the Intro to Human Resources course, I have the entire class conduct mock interviews for high school students in different schools, so they get that firsthand experience, not just being an interviewee, but being the interviewer, realizing how scary this is for somebody looking for his or her first job, and learning how to talk them through that experience, how to continue to collect good information that stays within the legal requirements, and helps the candidates stay at ease. After a student has practiced and done a few of these interviews, I actually get some local HR experts to come sit with the students and observe them as an interviewer and give them feedback on what they've done to put candidates at ease, how they've collected information, and we evaluate things. So, Dominguez Hills, its location in this urban environment with our students that have more work experience than average, really allows us to make that connection between the academy and the real world of work, what they call the town to gown type connection. And I think that's critical in today's age, that I'm not just trying to have folks leave with an X number of facts in their minds that can do well on a test. I want them to be able to do something like interviewing or to write a good business memo using research that they've done to convince an executive to do option A, B, or C, and being able to in a written format, a spoken format. And I think these practical skills are the things that really differentiate our university from some of the other universities I've had experience teaching at. The future of business education, I believe, is going to be shaped by 2 areas that I'm interested in as a researcher: globalization and information technology. So I see that the future is going to be essential for our students to understand how to operate in a global environment, to deal with different cultures, and that's where the diversity we see here at Dominguez Hills is really important. It gives some of our students a real leg up over perhaps somebody graduating from a very homogeneous Midwestern university where people are surrounded by people just like them. So I think finding ways to engage our students with other global classmates is important, encouraging exchanges, and giving faculty the opportunity to teach in other countries. All these things are going to be helpful for preparing students to deal and compete in today's global environment. Technology is an important component to helping people reach the wider world. When I teach in our online MBA program, I often have students located around the world and try to make full advantage of that ability using WebEx type conferencing and things, but also I think business schools have to start embracing all the different opportunities that online companies are coming up with to increase the learning of our students, find new ways to measure the learning, and just deliver content in a way that's more similar to what they find in their offices, that are filled with emails, iPads, Blackberries. Information isn't just communicated in book form, and people aren't writing 20-page reports in most jobs. Instead, they're reacting to a series of email messages, articles they've read, blogs they've read to solve business problems. With a bunch of information that they're being bombarded with in a variety of different technical formats. So this leads to us rethinking the types of assignments we have. So use of things like discussion boards, which are similar to blogs, use of having students do video projects, learn how to use technology to present things in a way that's different than a 20-page paper, really thinking outside the box to experiment with things like automated homework grading, which I'm using. All these are things that deans should be looking at to help keep costs down while improving the effectiveness of the education they're delivering and keeping it real and relevant for today's net generation. People who grow up connected with iPhones and DSs and things in their pockets aren't going to be looking for an education that just only read a case and discuss in your classroom and then go back to your dorm room. We really need to be first and foremost in thinking about how do we engage people with the world and how do we help them become technologically literate. What I like most about CSUDH is the students. The students challenge me every day. They bring a wealth of experience, and I really appreciate the fact that I have people with 20 years more experience in my class and people right out of high school. There's a great diversity that I'd measure not just in terms of skin color, race, or ethnicity, or gender, but generational differences. People who have experience being a lifeguard, working in the public schools here, to your typical stereotypical student who maybe has only had a fast food type career. So, the experience they have and the enthusiasm that they bring to class is exceptional. I actually find the willingness to work hard kind of comes with your average Dominguez Hills student too. So though I've increased my expectations and maybe known at times for being strict or having challenging exams, I find they do a really good job rising to the occasion, and they're not afraid of courses that will challenge and push them as long as they're getting feedback and they feel they're in a class with a professor who really cares and is committed to seeing them grow professionally. There's definitely a huge hunger, especially among the first generation students, of learning what it is that they need, that little extra something to find out how to get into the professional career of their choice. They might not have had a parent, an uncle that had those jobs, so it's very satisfying to take my work experience from companies like Sun Microsystems, Procter & Gamble, and Wells Fargo and kind of demystify that a little bit for the students. And if they weren't asking good questions, if they weren't willing to work hard and overcome some challenges they might have experienced, I don't think I'd get the same level of energy. So that's what I'd say I like most is the students, their willingness to ask questions, and they're not afraid of working.